Should I remove my charger? Will it stop recording? No. I should know that. I think I've done that a couple times. Hi. Hope you're well, Mr. Hope you're ready. Hope you're ready. Be ready. You're doing great. 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 I got a poetry book that I read recently. It's about 40 poems. It is 40 poems. Love poems. Love. How wonderful. And the link is in the description. It's $1. And I greatly appreciate anyone who buys it and reads it. Thank you in advance. Be sure to leave 5 stars as well if you purchase it. It goes a long way, people. A long way. So if you're just curious, want to read some love poetry, accessible stuff too, I think you'll find it very interesting and enjoyable, insightful. I cover all different topics, sorts of topics. I talk about insecurities pertaining to love. I talk about sexual intimacy. I talk about the union of marriage, the concept of the union of marriage and stuff like that. I talk about a whole bunch of things with each of these poems. I interpolate classical styles of poetry with more contemporary styles of poetry. So it's a nice mixture. Modern, classical. So yeah, $1. Link in the description. Greatly appreciate anyone who checks that out. Thank you. This past Wednesday, South Africa had its national elections. Got me thinking about the concept of national identity. What makes you a citizen? What makes you proud to be a citizen? So on and so forth. South Africa has been struggling with its current ruling party right now. It's the ANC. No one's really a fan of the ANC. They've been failing us for quite some time. People want change. Our political system is a bit weird. We've got a whole bunch of parties, and the ANC isn't going to be voted out entirely during this election. What ends up happening is they split the votes and split the power, and more than likely what's going to happen is we're going to form some sort of coalition. They'll probably have the biggest chunk of votes. They won't have like the overall voting majority. So before they used to be above 50%. Now it's looking like they're going to be like 40-something% or whatever the case may be in terms of people voting for them, which means they're going to have to form coalitions with different parties to get that majority in parliament, and it's complicated, but people want change. I heard the DA is gonna win Gauteng. Who's been running Gauteng before that? Anyway, let me not bore you with all that. Someone was talking about how, regardless of who wins, it's very important that people realize how much power they have as citizens. Like, you can fix your own roads. So if you have potholes in your road, it's actually possible to fill the potholes yourself. If traffic lights aren't working or street lights aren't working, it's actually possible to handle that as a community. Even there's some communities who are providing their own electricity and stuff. So there's ways around inefficient service delivery, There's things that citizens can do, but you have to have the mindset of like, we're not going to depend on the government for every little thing. That we're actually going to handle business ourselves. And that's I think to an extent that's how it should be, with citizens being responsible for their own lives. Because when you rely too much on the government, they can screw you over. You want to have power for yourself so that you are in charge of your destiny. You're in charge of your health and your welfare. When you give it all of that power to someone else who doesn't care about you, the results can be terrible. So, Anyway, going back to what I was saying, I was just thinking about national identity, national pride. And I was just wondering, do I view myself as South African? I've been living in this country for most of my life since I was 6 years old, so about 18 years now. I don't know if I view myself as South African. Sometimes this is a question I've been asking myself more recently. But I do wonder, what is the overarching philosophy of this nation? Like, what do people believe? What type of nation are we? What defines us? What defines our thinking? When I think of a place like America, it's defined by its capitalistic spirit, its pursuit of freedom. That American dream, this concept that you can work hard and achieve financial success and take care of your family and believe in God. And these are, some of these things are falling away, and America in general is degrading. It's no longer recognizable as what it used to be. I think that's still shared by a lot of people, a lot of those sentiments. And I do identify with a lot of that. Definitely more capitalistic in my thinking and my framing. And I think I'll thrive in a society like that. I sometimes get socialist vibes from South Africa, to be honest. A lot of people talking about universal basic income, which I'm against. I think that's not a good idea. People think it's a good idea. It's not a good idea. It sounds nice to some people, this idea that you just give people money and the government just hands out money to people and everyone earns a minimum income from the government. I'm like, no. Why should the government have that amount of power? And where are they getting the money from? You have to ask yourself. So a lot of proponents for universal basic income, they'll always say, like poor people, like you just need to give them money. Everyone should have like basic income so you can have, basic access to things. Yeah. You have to ask yourself, where's this money coming from? How's the government going to pay for this? So here's the issue, right? With a lot of governments, what they do when they implement all of these socialist policies, they just print money. So one or two things. They either take it out of your tax. So something like universal income would be extremely expensive. It would cost a lot of tax money, which most people aren't willing to pay. It would cripple you financially, that amount of tax. So that's not going to work. Or you could print money, which also isn't going to work because that would drive up inflation through the roof. It would be unsustainable, right? The concept of inflation is actually very simple. If you think about the principle of scarcity, the more rare something is, the more valuable it is. So if you think of diamonds, think of gold, the more readily available something is, the less valuable it is. If you can access it at any time, any place, it's not valuable at all. Like rocks, you can't pick up a rock from the ground and just sell it for a bunch of money. It's not a precious stone. Copper is not a precious metal. It's very easy to access copper. That's why in the ranking system, so if you go to the Olympics and they give you medals, you've got gold, silver. What's last? Bronze. Bronze, more commonly very accessible metal. Silver, rare, but you know, not the rarest metal. Gold. Gold is rare. Gold, therefore, is very valuable. With money, if a government decides they want to pay for something, and instead of saying, let's use the money already in circulation to pay for this, let's actually earn this money or use the money that's already in circulation to pay for this. Instead of saying that, they say, let's print a bunch of cash, therefore increasing the quantity of cash of these paper notes. What that does is it devalues your currency. An example of how this happened was during, I don't even like saying the word on this platform because this platform is dodgy. COVID. COVID. During the lockdowns, and I'm thinking about America in particular. This happened in a lot of countries, but let's use America as an example. Severe lockdown restrictions, people are not allowed to go outside, not allowed to work, so on and so forth, go to work. And the government said, stay inside, we'll give you money. People are like, where's this money going to come from? And Biden passed a spending bill, trillions of dollars, which was throwing at Americans. And everyone was like, oh, wow, we're getting paid to stay at home. Amazing. Not realizing that this clown Biden was driving up the national debt and driving up inflation. So when he inherited the economy from Trump, inflation was at 1.3%, which is good, which is great actually. A very healthy economy. Even with COVID, because as Trump was leaving, that's when the virus came. And still, Biden inherited 1.3%, despite all those challenges. Biden gets in office, he drives up inflation to 9%. 9% because of these ridiculous spending bills, right? And throwing money to foreign wars, all this sort of stuff. But yeah, trillions of dollars spent to keep a lot of Americans indoors. That had terrible consequences for the economy, which America hasn't really recovered from ever since. People are seeing it now with like unbelievably costly groceries, rent, fuel prices, interest on loans. The economy is doing terribly right now, and it's because of bad economic decisions. So, when people talk about things like universal basic income, you have to ask yourself, where are you going to get the money to do this? It sounds nice. Well, it doesn't sound nice to me. I think everyone should provide for themselves. But to some people, it sounds nice. How are you going to pay for it without tanking your economy? It's not possible. Socialism, it just doesn't work. There's no example of it ever working. But people will try and they'll try and they'll try and they'll try and they'll try. So that's why when I look at South Africa, I look at a lot of its economic policies that are being proposed. I'm like, this is socialism, and I don't know if this is going to end well. The economy is already struggling, but it can always get worse. So sometimes I wonder if I'm a good fit here. I'm a free market guy. Capitalism works, man. It produces a lot of wealth, and it works for the poor people as well. It lifts them up, because if you allow businesses to thrive, what that does is it creates jobs and provides people with economic opportunities. You can open bank accounts, and if you can build your credit score, and then you got a good credit score, you can take out loans, you can get yourself a house, you can rent out that house to pay back the loans, and then you can get another house, and you can have multiple streams of revenue. And you see how it creates this economic system where even the poor can thrive. Think about it, someone that's working at some company as a driver, and you're getting paid. Maybe you do a part-time course at some trade school or whatever the case may be to get more qualifications so you can work your way up in the company that you're working for. You've got a bank account. You're working on building good credit so you can take out a loan and get a house, and so that you can get married and have a family. Or you can lease the house out to someone and they can pay you monthly so you can pay back that loan, and then eventually you sell the house if you want to sell the house, whatever the case. Like, it's up to you. It provides economic opportunities for everyone involved. Good business benefits everyone. It's always in the business owner's best interest to make it profitable for everyone involved, because then that's how you yield the best results. Happy employees means good work done by the employees, and so on and so forth. Everyone benefits, man. I think about my mom and her business. She's got a furniture business. It's doing well. She has a reputation for treating her workers well. Her workers enjoy working for her. And she's had many situations where people have left their jobs at their companies to come work for her as carpenters or whatever the case may be, right? Because she pays well and she treats them well and she develops that reputation. She benefits, they benefit. It's good business, right? But there's an understanding that she's the owner. She gets the best fruits of the company. Yeah, her being allowed to start her business, hire and fire as she pleases, set her own wages, so on and so forth. These free market principles. This is what generates wealth, guys. But when the government keeps trying to regulate things and telling people who they're allowed to hire, who they're allowed to fire, diversity quotas, oh, you have to have X amount of black people in your company, or X amount of this nationality, oh, you have to have this amount of women, you have to pay them this amount of money. When the government is making its job to dictate, oh, that's how everything falls apart. Oh, like, this is the basic minimum wage. Minimum wage is another thing, like California, for example, implementing minimum wage laws that tanked a lot of businesses because it was unsustainable. They were asking for too much money. The government was saying pay $20 minimum wage, and many businesses closed as a result. How many people lost jobs? Oh my god, it was a lot. It was thousands and thousands of people lost jobs. Hundreds of businesses closed down, but many thousands of people in the first month, if not the first week, I can't remember. Basically, immediately after the law was passed, businesses closed down and thousands of people lost jobs. It was so quick. It was amazing to witness. So, government interference in the private sector never works. This is a concept. It's not a concept, it's a reality. So, folks, let me give an example of how government intervention, another example rather, of how government intervention never works. Let's say milk is expensive. The price of milk. This was something that was put forth by Ludwig von Mises. He was explaining that he's an economist, and he was talking about like let's say milk is expensive and the citizens are struggling to buy milk because milk is expensive. So the government is like, okay, we're going to go to these farmers and we're going to tell them to charge less money for milk so that the citizens can afford, so that the milk is more affordable for the citizens. So what they do is they lower the price of milk, and what ends up happening is the price, the amount they have to sell it for is less than the cost of producing the milk. So it's cheap for the customers. The customers are happy. Oh my God, we're getting. But now the farmers are getting stiffed because they're making a loss. So what they do is they stop selling milk. They start selling dairy products and stuff like that. So now milk production has gone down. No one has access to milk anymore. So now the government is like, hey, why aren't you selling milk anymore? Because it's not affordable. It doesn't make sense. We'll go out of business if you keep doing this. So then the government is like, okay, fine. What we'll do is we will look at the various processes involved in producing your milk and try and regulate costs pertaining to that so that milk is easier for you to produce through your cows. So then now they look at, okay, the fodder that is used for the cows. I think the cows feed on, wait, let me Google this. Fodder is like what the cows, what is fodder? I know it's some material used in farming, some resource. I need to get a new laptop. This thing is so slow, bro. What is fodder? What the? No internet. This is another thing my laptop just randomly does sometimes. It just disconnects from the internet by itself. It just decides I don't want to be connected to the internet anymore. Then you have to reconnect manually. It's like so. Food, especially dried hay or straw for cattle and other livestock. So yeah, fodder is what the cows eat. So now they're saying your food for your cows, we're gonna make that cheaper, so that when you're buying food for your cows, it'll be cheaper. Therefore, you're reducing costs pertaining to the maintenance of these cows. Therefore, it should be cheaper to produce milk and so on and so forth. Farmers are like, okay, I guess. But now what the government is doing is they're just shifting the problem to the producers of the fodder. So now the producers of the fodder, like, we're just gonna stop making fodder because we're spending more money making it, producing it, and we're not getting good returns. So now the government has gone in and they've fucked up the whole cycle. If they just stayed out of it, people would have been better off. So what they do is they make a difficult situation worse. The solution is never government intervention. If you just let the market work unimpeded, things usually iron themselves out. The competitors arise and innovations are made, and the processes become easier and more efficient, and people benefit. But when the government is constantly trying to intervene, like let's fix this, they never fix anything. They always just make it worse. They always just make it worse. The government is not capable of effectively regulating the private sector. Never works. It always results in inefficiencies. So it's not wise to do for government intervention. Another example, I wrote an essay about this. Maybe I'll put the link in my description. I was talking about Joe Biden's EV mandate, where he's mandating the adoption of EVs, which is ridiculous. People don't want to drive electric cars. They're inefficient. They break down. In cold weather, the batteries die. They don't last as long. They don't have good EVs. Don't have good range. People don't want them. In 2021, he took $7.5 billion of taxpayer monies and dedicated it to building charging stations for EVs. He said, I want to build 500,000 charging stations throughout America. $7.5 billion. Till this day, guess how many he's built? He took $7.5 billion from American taxpayers. Guess how many charging stations he's built? Out of 500,000, how many has he built? I'll give you some time to guess. Don't Google. 7 charging stations. 7. He made 7 out of 500,000. This bastard claims that by 2030 he will have built 500,000. In 3 years we've built 7. You tell us we're in 2024. You've got 6 years left. You got a record of. So track record is 7 every 3 years. You got 6 years left. You're telling us that somehow you're gonna reach 500,000. You're not, and everyone knows he's not. They stole that money. That $7.5 billion has been stolen. It's not gonna be used. Most of it's not gonna be used. What have you been doing for 3 years? The government is so inefficient. When you ask the government to intervene in the private sector, this is what happens. Auto dealers, so people who sell cars, are saying, stop asking us to sell electric vehicles. We don't want to. No one's buying them. You're making us lose money, yada yada yada. The whole thing is just inefficient. No one wants it. And China has a monopoly on this market because they manufacture all the parts for these cars. So when you're mandating the adoption of electric vehicles, you're putting yourself at the mercy of one of your the enemies. The US and China are enemies. It's not wise to depend on China for such a huge part of your economy to that extent where they're making all your cars. And it provides national security risks as well, because now they can start putting things in the cars and whatnot. It's like my laptop's about to turn off. So it's just bad policies across the board from Biden and his cohorts. Pete Buttigieg, who's Minister of Transportation or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, this is a classic example of how government intervention pretty much never works. Big Daddy government, save us, please. No, it doesn't work. It never works. It never will work. People need to get over that. But South Africans, not all South Africans, but a lot of South Africans seem to think that government intervention is the answer to a lot of our issues, which is why we're still in the positions we're in a lot of the time. I think we need to come to the realization that it doesn't matter who we vote for, unless we're willing to take power into our own hands and handle a lot of our own problems. Nothing will change, because the ANC is clearly corrupt and they steal our tax money and all this sort of stuff. And they use that money to send their kids to private school and buy themselves nice houses and cars. Nothing's going to change with them. We have to start implementing our own change. Fix your own roads. Maybe a lot of people need to start embracing homeschooling. Like, these public schools are trash. And the things they're teaching the kids these days, trash. Like people need to be proactive. Don't wait for the government to save you. They've shown that they're incapable of doing anything right. So yeah, small government, man, that's the answer. Where the goal is just to protect the citizens, protect us. Provide basic infrastructure for society to function, and then leave the rest to the citizens to work and figure things out. You have to be responsible for your own life. You can't be sucking on the titties of the government. like an overgrown child who's still breastfeeding. It's embarrassing. That's to me the key to success. That's how I view the world, and some people might disagree, but I'm just laying out my perspective for you, and I'm showing you that it doesn't work when you do it the other way. It just doesn't. The results from the other side are very poor. But when you apply pure capitalistic principles, like in Singapore, where you can start a business in 1 to 3 days, and its economy is doing well, a lot of people, and they have a high standard of living and great minimum salary, minimum wages and stuff like that. Like the average. Let me rephrase that: not minimum wages. They have great average salaries, a great average salary across the board. It's all because of good economic principles. Where if you go to somewhere like America, in certain states, where if you want to start a business, there's so many hoops you have to jump through, so many organizations you have to register with, that it can end up putting you off. If you, for example, you want to start a food truck business, like you want to set up a food truck at the side of the street, there's so many papers you need to get signed and register with this board and register with that board. Someone might just say, I'm not doing this. I just work for another company, so I don't have to put up with this. It discourages businesses. It discourages entrepreneurship, which could lead to entrepreneurship always leads to job creation and the spreading of wealth, of prosperity and resources. So when the government is actively discouraging that because of bureaucracy, it's frustrating. So you need to shrink the government in order to remove a lot of these inefficiencies, because bigger government means more moving parts, which just means a less efficient process and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, free market principles. Be very pro business. That's just my perspective. Let me know. Balance of triggers and yapping, as people say now. Yapping is the word that's making the rounds. But anyway, let me pray and get out of here. I like to pray then. Dear Father God, thank you for this individual watching us right now. Thank you for making them whole. You can guide them on the path towards peace, prosperity, and purpose. Thank you for blessing this person with wonderful people in life who love them, take care of them, and bring the absolute best out of them. Thank you for maintaining the ones that are there to do the same thing. Thank you for blessing this person with love, with marriage, and thank you for sustaining that love and marriage and letting them be happy, good health, long life, and happiness with this person, everyone they care about. Wait, what? I'm skipping a step. Thank you for blessing this person, the spirit of gratitude, so they can give thanks for all the wonderful things in life and be giving thanks they can find peace, contentment, and attract even more blessings. Let your presence be felt in this person's life, so that your God, that you wrote, that you love me, who's going to be there for them. Good health, long life, and happiness for this person, everyone they care about. In your mind, name I pray. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen, amen, amen.